Uh, little confusing. The pasuk, the psukim over here. Not so confusing, but it's not understood on its own. So the Gemara is though going to explain it. We're going to learn a little bit about Miriam, okay, and Kalev. So Miriam, Kalev ben Yefuna, Kalev married Miriam. Kalev was one of the two spies, right? Yeshua bin Nun and Kalev ben Yefuna were the two spies that came back with a positive report. Everyone else came back with a negative report. And this guy Kalev, the spy, was married to Miriam. Okay, so he was a good spy. He was married to Miriam. So here's the verse. The verse doesn't, and you read it at first, it doesn't make sense. It seems like there's a lot of contradictions here. So let's go through it, and I'll show you all the shilas, all the questions. So Kalev, this guy Kalev, ben Chetzroin, who was the son of Chetzroin. We always call him Kalev ben Yefuna, the son of Yefuna, not Chetzroin. So that's going to be the first question. One of the questions we're going to ask. Hoylid, and he gave birth to, and these are funny names, as Azuva. He gave birth to someone called Azuva, Isha, who was his wife. So what does that mean? Also doesn't make sense at the first glance. How does he give birth to someone who's Azuva? It's his child or it's his wife? We're going to learn that Azuva means abandon. Ish is his wife. That he gave birth means that he cured her. Basically, Miriam, we're going to learn, was a very sick child, and Kalev married her even though she was so sick, because famous Gemara, which we learn elsewhere, that when you marry somebody, you should check out the wife's brothers, because your children will be like your wife's brothers. That's who your sons will look like. So my kids in Mirza Hashem will be big businessmen, hopefully, with Hashem's help. Anyway, so Hoylid asked. So he wanted to marry Moshe and Aaron's sister. Who better than that? But she was sick, so gave birth means he cured her. He was an amazing husband, and we'll see when a husband treats his wife as they should, the wife starts looking beautiful and so on. That's Urios, and also he had another child who's Urios, but really it means that the wife, talking about Miriam still, that her face was white. She was so sick, her face had no color in it. It was white, like curtains. Ve'ela baneha, and these are her children. And then it says the names of her children, but they're not really names of her children. It's talking about the husband and wife, still Kalev and his wife. Yeshar, he straightened her out. He was like her doctor. V'shoivav, the Ardain, and we'll learn different names, what these things mean about referring again. It's all really just talking about Kalev and his wife, Miriam, and about them. Okay, so that's the pasuk. I already gave you the Gemara overview within the pasuk, but let's learn inside. So the Gemara ben Chetzron had the verse say that Kalev was the son of Chetzron? Question mark, right? How do you say that Kalev was the son of Chetzron? Doesn't make sense. Kalev, we know the spy Kalev was the son of Yefuna. Ben Yefuna, who? He's the son of Yefuna. So the Gemara tells you, Ben Shapona me'atzas meraglin. He was the son. They call him Yefuna. I guess his real name is Chetzron. He really was the son of Chetzron. So why did they call him Yefuna? Because he turned away from the advice of the Meraglim. He turned away from them. So his name is Yefuna, is a nickname referring to the one who turned away from the advice of the Meraglim. Okay, fine. That answers the first question in the pasuk. Ba'akati, but still ben Knazu. And this is actually interesting for me, because in our Tanakh class we actually dealt with this. Another problem is we're still confused. Who is Kalev's your father? Is it Yefuna? Is it Chetzron, or is it Knaz? Where do we see that Kalev's father's name is Knaz? The Ksivit says by Yilkada, and they attacked the city. Who was the one who attacked the city? A guy called Asniel, who was the son of Knaz. Achi Kalev, but the brother. So this guy Asniel is telling you some his family history. There's a person called Asniel. Asniel is the son of a man called Knaz, who is the brother of a man who's the brother of someone called Kalev. So Kalev, the famous Kalev ben Yefuna's brother, was Asniel, was this guy Asniel, who attacked the city, who helped win the war, whatever. But who was Asniel's father? His father's Knaz. Okay, so if Kalev, let's do a little equation here. If Asniel and Kalev are brothers, and Asniel's father is Knaz, then that's got to mean that Kalev is Kalev's father is Knaz. So now I'm also confused still. Is Kalev's father Knaz, or is his father Chetzroins. Amarava, so Rava says, Chorgoi, the Knaz Hava, he was the stepfather. Basically, um, Kaleb's father passed away. His real father passed away. His mother remarried a guy called Knaz and had a child called a Sneal. So Kaleb was a Sneal's brother, but you have to know the whole story. He was a brother from the mother because the mother remarried and he was a very big tzaddik, this Knaz. Why this is interesting for me? Because so far, Baruch Hashem, I did the Tanakh class in Yeshua, and we actually came up with this in our class that we gave. We got to go back to the Tanakh class. I know we're in the middle of it, but if you go to you'll see here, he quotes the verse from Yeshua that we were learning. Daikonami, you could also be medayik that his stepfather, and this is interesting, his stepfather was Knaz. It wasn't his main father. He was a big judge, I think, a big tzaddik among the Jewish people. His name was Knaz, because Haknizi in Yeshua, in the book of Yeshua, where we learn the story. What happened in the story? Why is it in the book of Yeshua? Yeshua conquers the whole Eretz Yisrael. And Kaleb comes to Yeshua and says, Kaleb, remember, I was promised by Moshe Rabbeinu to get a special section. He ended up getting Hebron in Eretz Yisrael. I was promised by the spies, because I came out with the right spying. Moshe promised me a second land. That's what he talks about in the book of Yeshua. But over there, it calls him the Knizite. So what does it mean? Is his father Knizi, or is he Kaleb ben Yefunah, or Kaleb ben Chetzrein? So his stepfather was a Knizi, he was a very big tzaddik. His mother remarried a person called Knizi, and therefore he's famously known that he was the stepson of a guy called Knizi. I just want to share with you, very interesting, I guess, because it's relevant to my life a little bit too. Maybe you could say this story. Not really, I guess it's just the thing that I think about a little bit. It's not really connected so much to me. But what happens if somebody adopted a child? I heard this in Rabbi Zion's share, very interesting. What happens if somebody, there was a shayla, they asked if someone adopts a child from a little kid, and then they have to write the ksuba, the marriage documents for the child. And they want to write Ben, but they want the father who adopted the kid wants to write his own name. The kid grew up, the kid might not even know that he's not the son of this father. So what do you write in the ksuba? Right? Now the ksuba has to be honest and true. So you could write, we learned from here that you could write the stepfather's name, but you should know, you have to write it in a way that if a guy was a Talmud Chacham who knows how ksuba should be written, it won't say so-and-so Ben, whatever. It'll say the Knizi, ha-Knizi. It'll write it the same way like it's saying in the book of Yeshua that it was a stepfather. It's allowed to be said as Ben so-and-so, but they'll write it in a way that it'll say Knizi, so we'll know. So someone who knows well will realize that there's something going on over here, and we'll check out to know that it's a stepfather. Anyway, very interesting shtickle Gemara over here. So we answered the first question, though. What was our shaila? Why does it call him Kaleb ben Yefunah when it calls him other names? And we explained Yefunah means he didn't go loipana, he didn't go after Atzis Menagla, but really his father was what was it, Chetzroin. And why is he called Knizi? Because he was the stepson of a guy called Knizi after his father passed away. Then it says, Azuba, she gave birth to Azuba, or he married, who was his wife, Zu Miriam. Who was Azuba? The one who, Azuba literally means abandoned. That means that's Miriam. Well, Valama, why? Valama, Nikra Shma Azuba. Why is her name called Azuba, the abandoned one? Shakol Azuba Mitchilase, because everybody abandoned her from the beginning. She was a very sick, unhealthy baby. And nobody wanted to marry her, I think, even. She was someone who was abandoned. But it says, the question on the pasuk, it says Hoylid, it says he gave birth to Azuva, he gave birth to Miriam. It should have said he married. Bahaloi, Minsav, did he not marry her? Have a nasiv law. Did he not marry her? I don't understand why does the pasuk say he gave birth to her. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, Kol hano yisei isha, whoever marries a woman, l'shem shemayim, for the sake of heaven. Like here, why? Because he wanted to fulfill the mitzvah of getting married, and he wanted to have children who will be like his wife's brothers, who's Moshe and Aaron, not because she was so beautiful, the opposite was in her case. Maila Lavakasu, the Torah, it considers it Kilu Yolda, as if he gave birth to her. So of course he didn't give birth to his wife. He would say if he gave birth to her, because whoever marries a woman simply for Shem Shemayim, for the right reason, Hashem considers it as if you birthed that person. Okay. But then her next name in the verse is Urias. It's called Curtains. Why is her name called Curtains? I already answered the question. So now, because her face was compared to curtains. She was white like a sheet, like they say. She didn't have any color. She was that unhealthy. She was that sick. And she married this guy, Kaleb, and everything changed. Her husband nursed her back to health and took care of her. Again, referencing this whole unique relationship between the two, between Kalev and his wife Miriam, and these are her children. Al tikri baneha, don't use the nekudas to mean these are her children. Ella baineha, he built her up, he built his wife up, he strengthened her, he built her up. Yasher, that's why the names, it's not these are her three children, these are the way he built her up. Yesher, he straightened her up. He built her up. He strengthened her. Meaning, Yisher as atzmoi, he strengthened him. He strengthened himself, or he strengthened her. It says actually Rashi's here. I'm going to read Rashi's pshat here. Yisher as atzmoi is actually referring to Kalev. He strengthened himself. They shouldn't fall into the advice of the Meraglim. In other words, Yisher is referencing the husband, is referencing Kalev here, that he strengthened himself up tremendously, and he didn't sin with the sin of the spies. Shoivav, well, what about this? There's three children's name here. They're really referencing them. What does Shoivav mean? Sheshibe bes Yitzroi, that he disobeyed his Yetzer Hara. He didn't listen to his Yetzer Hara from the advice. He disobeyed the Yetzer Hara. He had a very strong Yetzer Hara to wanting to give in to the spies' wishes, and he didn't give in. And what's the third name? Va'ardoin is from Sharada es Yitzroi, again, that he went against his Yetzer Hara, he disciplined, or she translates here as he disciplined his Yetzer Hara, and therefore it's referring to this guy Kalev. Bikadamri, and some people say the word Ardain is not referring to the three uniquenesses of Kalev, but it's talking about Miriam, that her face ended up being as beautiful as a rose. So Miriam, and nobody wanted to touch, nobody wanted to marry, ended up being beautiful as a rose. Ula ashkur, avi tekoa, and he's talking again another verse in Divrei Hayamim, in another part of Tanakh, where it's talking about Miriam. It says Ashkur, that Ashkur was the father of Avi Tekoa, father of Tekoa. Ishtei Nashim had two wives. Chelo, the Naira, the two names are Chela and Naira. So again, he's going to translate the verse completely different than the simple reading. Ashkur is the husbands, that Kalev. Again, it's a verse about Kalev and Miriam. Well, Valama Nikra Shmai Ashkur, why give him such a name? Why is he called Ashkur? Shahushcheru Pana Betainis, that his face became blackened from Shachar, from black. His face became blackened from fast to be saved from the advice of the Meraglim. So again, you see, he's very scared that it was a very dangerous situation there where they were going with the spies. He fasted and fasted and fasted. His face became black, so he shouldn't be convinced to help at praying to Hashem to save him from the advice of the Meraglim. Okay? Avi, Shenasa Laka'av, what does it say? A father, referencing him to Miriam, because he became like her father, because he took care of her like a father, I guess, takes care of a son. And Tekoya, it means like strong, settled in. Why is he called that? That he nailed in, he strengthened his heart to his father in heaven, not to fall to the advice of Meraglim. All this referring to Kalev. And it says he had two wives, and it doesn't mean that he had two wives. Nasa Miriam, Kishtei Nashim Miriam. It was when he married Miriam, it's as if he married two wives, and the names were Chalav and Ira, sick and youth. Loi Chala, it seems like it's two women, Chala and Ira. Loi Chalav and Ira Havai. It's the same person. Chala and Ira is the same person. Tchila Chala. In the beginning, she was sick. In the end, she looked beautiful and youthful. Let's finish with this idea. Just talk a few more lines, and it's going to finish this topic here about Miriam and Kalev. Ubnei Chela, and the sons of Chela, of this wife who was once Chela, Tzeres v'Tzoyer ve'Esnan. Three more words. Why is it calling them these three names? We're going to finish with this. Tzeres, Shenasa Tzara lechaverto. Tzeres from the word Tzara, that she became a like a tzara, like a challenge, a difficulty to her friends. Why did she become a challenge to her friends? Because all the women basically realized, why'd she become so beautiful? Because her husband is taking such good care of her. So they would say to their own husband, they would tell their husbands, let you take such good care of me. Or as Rashi simply says here, They were jealous from her beauty. So she went from being someone who nobody looked at to everybody like, wow, we wish we could look like her. Sayar is like shining, like the afternoon shine. Her face was shining like in the middle of the afternoon. She literally looked very beautiful. And finally, Esnan, that whoever would see her would give a gift to his wife, that they would learn that just like either I heard the Rabbi Zainzig got from the commentaries that they realize if you take care of your wife, she looks beautiful, so every husband would want to take care of their wife. But Rashi saying here that he would want, they would look at her and they would want to right away have intimacy with their own wives. They would get attracted and they would want to have intimacy to their own wives. And therefore, that is the behind the scenes to the whole interesting facts about Miriam and Kalev. And now, my friends, we get back to our earlier Gemara. Again, we have about one or two, this class and next class, basically a little bit of Agadata about the stories of going out of Mitzrayim. We're going to continue verse by verse, some famous, beautiful ideas. Some of them you know, some of them you don't know. What the Gemara tells us for the rest of the class today about what happened when the Yidden left Mitzrayim.
What does it mean, lady? He took care of his wife. Just one quick question.
Where? But he took care of his wife means that he nursed her back to health. He basically gave birth to her, that she was such a sick person that nobody wanted to touch her. And Kalev did l'shem shemayim because he wanted to have children like Aaron and Miriam. And once he married her, she became one of the most beautiful women. So basically, it tells us that the major change that a husband could, it's true. I think you can see it sometimes, if someone's in a good relationship, their face is shining, they're happy, they're happy inside and outside, and it affects the actual physical look of the person. Okay. Rabbi Yossi the son of Chanina says, he also decreed on his own nation that Pari's decree was also on his own nation. He didn't just say that the boys should be thrown into the sea from the Yidden. Even eventually, Pari said that even his own children should be thrown into the Nile River. Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina says there was three stages to the Shalish, Gezeira, Gazar. There were three level decrees. It's not almost like similar to in Russia now. First he decreed that only the Wagner group should go, and then he decreed that everyone should go, or whatever. He's one step after another. Bitchila, in the beginning, Pari said the weakest level of decree in Benhu. If you see it's a boy, and he told it to the midwives, relying on them to follow through, then you should kill him. Right? He told the midwives, he relied on the leadership midwives, we give you a job, make sure you kill him. Then at the end, he didn't rely on them. It says, Kala ben hayiloid. Every Yiddish boy sending security around to making sure that they throw every Jewish kid into the Nile River. And then after that, the third level Gzeira, are not just that he sent security around to the Yiddish kids, but even on his own nation, he said you have to throw all the Egyptians also into the river. The pasuk continues. What happened? A man from the house of Levi went. So the Gemara says, where did he go? Referring to Moshe's father. Rabbi Yehuda bar Zvina. So Rabbi Yehuda son of Zvina says, Shahalach ba'atas bito. He went, meaning he followed the lead of his daughter's advice. Miriam was a little tiny girl then. He followed his daughter's advice. Famous Gemara here. We're learning it inside now. Here's the source for it. We're learning inside. Tana we learned. Amram, that Moshe's father, Amram, Gadol Hadar Haya. He was the great man of the generation, the greatest, the leader of the generation. Kivan, Shara, Sha'amar Pari Harasha, since he saw that Pari, the wicked, said, what did Pari say? We just said in the last verse, Call Habein, all boys, Hayilad, that are born, Hayari Tashlichua, throw them into the river. Amar, he said, L'shavanu Amelim, he says, for nothing, we're investing, we're having children, for what? Because they're going to throw them into the river. Amad, so the leader of the generation, Amram, Moshe's father, he stood up, the Girash es Ishta, he divorced his wife. He stood up, he divorced his wife. Amdukul, and everybody followed, everybody stood up. The Girshu es Nishaseda divorced their wife, following the leader of the generation. Amr Leibito, so his little daughter Miriam says to him, Abba, he says, Tati, father, Pashag Zeirascha, your decree is worse. Yoiser more Mishal Pari than Pari. So in other words, Pari made one decree, and now you, look what you're doing. You're making worse degree. Why? Shapari, the Gazar, Pari didn't decree Ella al Hascharim, only on the males. Ba'ata and you Gazarta al Hascharim ve'alam, so decreeing on the males and the females, because no boys and no girls will be born now because of you. Pari was only on the boys. Pari legazar, and this is a very interesting argument. The next one also Pari didn't decree Ella ba'olam haza, only in this world. He Pari only wants to kill them, but what will happen after they die? The baby will be burned. The fact is, an neshama will come down to this world and maybe will die very quickly, but then it'll have the whole afterlife. The ata ba'olam haza u'leilam haba. You're stopping those souls from coming in, not into this world, not into the world to come. So by not having kids, you're not bringing a neshama to this world. And it's worth it for the baby, I guess, who even has to suffer even for a few minutes here in this world, but it's worth it because the baby will have Eilam Haba. Very interesting way of viewing it, by the way. Pari, Rasha, that's another thing. Pari, the wicked suffer miskayamas, Kazerasa, it's a question if his decree will happen. Maybe he won't be able to follow through. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a revolt. Okay, his decree, no one should have babies. No one has intimacy. Who knows what's going to happen in 9 months from now, right? Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe the decree will be abolished. Maybe his own people will revolt. So it's a question if it won't end up happening. But Ata tzaddik, you're a tzaddik. For sure, your decree will be miskayim, and for sure, no one will have kids. No Jewish babies will be born. Shenamar, like it says, where do we see that a tzaddik makes a decree? It for sure happens. But tigzar oimer vayakum lach. You'll make a gzeira, you'll make a decree, and it'll stand up. Then when the tzaddik makes a decree, it stands up, it happens. Ahmad, so he stood up, he went in the path of his daughter. The hechzer as ishta, he returned his wife, he remarried her, made a big ceremony. I think we'll see it soon in the Gemara. Amdu kulan, so everybody stood up, and returned their wives. So the Gemara says, it says vayikach. Vayikach is the word, take the woman's hand in marriage, to take them, to acquire her hand. What do you mean take? Like it's the first marriage. You should have said he returned. What do you mean he married her? He went back to her. The son of Zvina says, he did the act of marriage at a full simcha, a full wedding. He made a full wedding. Yeshiva ba'afiryoin. He made the cheer, I think means the college cheer and the party. He went and had the cheer and the party. He did it as a full wedding. And interestingly, Aaron and Miriam, the 2 children who were from his marriage, were dancing before her. Very interesting, I think. And Rabbi Zayin said in his shir, some people wonder when they go to get remarried and they have kids, so they bring the kids to the wedding. Even though this is remarrying the same parent, here we see a source to the kids coming to the chassan. It's both parents the same, but they're coming to the wedding. And the heavenly angels are watching this chasana, and they're saying, famous word in Hallel, we say it right, Aim habanim semecha. Look at the way he translates though here now. Aim, the mother, habanim, by the children being at their wedding, semecha is being rejoiced by her own children by a chasana. Very interesting. Zak the Gemara, so the Gemara goes on to say, as Bas Levi, who did he take? A daughter of Levi. Who did he remarry? Who was Amram's wife? It's a fascinating story because it's Amram, Moshe ben Amram, and who's Amram's father? Isn't it Ben Yitzhar, Ben Kahas, Ben Levi? Is that it's like or Amram? I just read this the other day in the we're learning in the Gemara and the Chumash. Amram. Anyway, we'll see in a second. Amram wasn't Levi's son though. Amram was. We'll see. Levi's daughter though is Moshe's mother. So Amram is further descendants from Levi, but Amram's wife married direct descendant from Levi, and she's very close to the Yidden, to the original 12 tribes. She's the daughter of one of the 12 Shvatim. She's the daughter of Levi. Now the Gemara says, Efshar, is it possible? Basmeo Shleishim Shana Havya. She's 130 years old. Vikari Labas, and he calls her a daughter. It says he married the daughter of Levi. Wow, how do we know she's 130 years old? She's so old, here at this point at least. Amar Rab Chama bar Rabbi Chanina, because Rab Chama said the name Rab Chanina. We just made this cheshbon in Rashi, by the way. We're talking about how long the Galus was, because Hashem told Avram 400 years, but it's actually a little similar to the same people using to make these calculations. Zu Yechaved, this is Yechaved. Yechaved's very interesting, her birth. Shahirasa Baderach, she was born on the way. When Yaakov was coming down with his family to go to Yosef in Mitzrayim, she was born on the way. Vileidasa Ben Achemis, and she was born in between the walls. Meaning, because we know, we'll see it here, I'll show you why. Shemar, like the verse says, Shal Yolda Oisel Levi b'Mitzrayim. Yocheved was born to Levi in Mitzrayim. Leidasa b'Mitzrayim. Her birth was in Mitzrayim. Ve'ein Haydasa b'Mitzrayim, but she was conceived not in Mitzrayim. So almost like Yocheved is a very special person. She still has that Eretz Yisrael energy. When Yaakov lived in Eretz Yisrael, she was conceived by Levi in Eretz Yisrael. She was born in Mitzrayim, but she's always considered a foreigner. She on her passport, maybe she was born in Mitzrayim, but really she was already conceived in Eretz Yisrael. So it's very interesting. So Moshe's mother gave birth according to the calculation, because Moshe was born, you can make it simply. Moshe was 80 years old, right? When the Yidden left Mitzrayim. So if you take 80 plus 130, it's 210. That's exactly how long the Yidden were in Mitzrayim, from beginning when they entered to the end. So if Moshe was 80, then his mother had to be 130. So that means that they remarried. He was 130 years old. So what does it mean that he's calling her? He married the daughter of Levi. But Rabbi Yehuda says the same thing as Mamish today's Chumash. We learn about Sarah that today's Chumash, right? It's Mamish today's Chumash. What did we learn? That the Malach said to Avram, your wife Sarah is going to have a baby, and she says, I'm all wrinkled. I'm 90 years old. Here, Shanodel Basimoni Naira. Yocheved's even older than Sarah. She returned the simanim of Nairis, of youthfulness. I guess she had her period again, or her skin became smooth. But so we see that that's what happened to Yocheved. Very interesting. That's what happened to Yocheved. Where's my place? Over here, the page is turning the wrong way. Okay. But
Rabbi, why would Moshe's father have to divorce his wife?
He did because he didn't want. Yeah, because he. Oh, you say he could have just stayed married and not had a child,
right?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. I'm not sure. Saying they could have just stayed married. It said before, right? It said that before.
The only thing I could think of is he wanted to set an example. That's the only reason I could think of.
To do that. It said before. Right. Let's go back. He stood up and he divorced his wife. So you're saying why did he have to divorce his wife? He could have just not had another kid.
Right, unless it was just to set an example for everybody else, because he was a good old door at that time. But
right,
otherwise he wouldn't have to.
He wanted to set the standard. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. You could look into that after. Good sign. Okay, let's go on. Dr. Gemara. Batar Isha, and she became pregnant. Bateled Bain, and she gave birth to a son. So it says that Yocheved became pregnant, and she gave birth to a son. Now the Gemara is going to ask a very interesting question. You should know Moshe was not even born, seems from this Gemara, from the new marriage. She was already pregnant with him 3 months before. Wow. So she was already, in other words, she didn't become pregnant and give birth to a son after the marriage. She was pregnant. The Gemara is going to prove it. I think it's on the next page. We're going to learn it today, that she was actually already 3 months expecting when she remarried her husband. Very interesting Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yehuda bar Zvina. So Rabbi Yehuda, the son of Zvina, said, it's not trying to tell you that she became pregnant, because she was pregnant already when she got married, remarried her husband. It's just telling you that she became pregnant. She gave birth because it wants to compare her pregnancy to her birth. Oh, it's good. We're learning today a lot about pregnancy. Just like when you become pregnant, when you conceive the child, it's without pain, right? It's pleasurable. So too, her birth is without pain. So it's trying to tell you that she had no pain. She had a very easy delivery. Mekan from here, very famous thing in the Gemara, L'Nashim Tzidkanis, from righteous women, that they weren't under the decree, the verdict of Chava, right? Where does it come that women have pain for childbirth? Because when Chava sinned, We just learned this also in the Chumash not long ago in Parshas Bereshis. He said, okay, your punishment is that you're going to have paid to have childbirth. But if the woman is a tzadekis, then she gets out of the difficulty, and we say that nashim tzidkanis, that women that are righteous women have easy deliveries, have easy pain, or they take what's that shot called? Today you could just take a shot of what's a shot called? No, that it doesn't give you pain, it doesn't affect you. Rabbi Zayitz was very funny on this. He said they also say that about righteous men, that the men. What was the punishment for men? That they have to work hard. So if you're a tzaddik, you don't get either the punishment that you have to work hard that Adam got, and the parnasa comes easy. Anyway, he said it doesn't say that. But Teira said, let's continue on. But Teira Kitayv, and they saw Kitayv that he was good. They saw that Moshe was good. The shaila is, what does it mean he was good? Tanya, we learned in the Brayzer. Meir Oimer Abeir says, Toiv Shmoi, that Moshe's name was Toiv. You have an opinion. They saw that he was good. They saw that he was named. The little boy's name was Toiv, was good. Rabbi Yehuda says Tuvia Shmai. Another name that I don't know if you guys have heard of. Tuvia. Moshe, I have a friend who's Tuvia. I was going to call him up. He imagined he knows this Gemara that Moshe Rabbeinu's name was Tuvia. Toiv with a Yud and a Hey in it, which is Hashem's name. Rabbi Nechemya says, what does it mean that he was Toiv? Not that his name was Toiv or his name was Tuvia. Hagen Lenevius, you could see that he was fitting to be a Navi, that this kid was destined for greatness, for prophecy. Others say, another interesting interpretation, what did they see about him? Noilad Kishumal, like we know about he was born, that he was circumcised, he was already had the bris milah, born perfectly ready to go with the bris milah. The last opinion, what does it mean that they saw he was good? B'shash and Noilad Moshe, at the time that Moshe was born, the room, the house became full of light. As soon as he was born, where do we see that toy? They saw he's good. It means light. Because the verse by us, where Moshe's birth is taking place, they saw he was good. And it says by the creation when Hashem created the world, that Hashem saw the light was good. So toiv means that there's light. So Moshe was. So Moshe was born. There was good means that there was light in the room. Okay, weiter. Let's go on in the Chumash. And they hid him for 3 months. Why? Had they get the extra 3 months here that they had to hide him specifically for 3 months? Manu, Mitzrayim, Egyptians didn't count Elamisha the Hadra from when he remarried. So they weren't worried that they're going to have a kid. They waited for the wedding and then they started to count. And she was already pregnant for 3 months beforehand, and therefore they had 3 months that they could live with him and he didn't have to hide him. But they hid him for 3 months in the house, they didn't have to worry. So the Gemara Vahavis mi'abra be plus a yarchi mi'kara. Vihi, and no, that's part of Vahavis mi'abra be plus a yarchi mi'kara. She was already pregnant with him 3 months before, and therefore they didn't really know. And they couldn't hide him anymore. So in other words, in the house, they kept him in the house, they kept him in the room, wherever they kept him in a hiding place, but they couldn't hide him anymore. So the Gemara says, why couldn't you hide him in the house? Find a good hiding spot. Titzbnei v'sezel. Keep on hiding him, get a good hiding spot, and keep on going, and they'll never find him. So the Gemara says they had a very cruel, interesting way of finding the hidden babies. Any place, the Habushmi Mitzray, the Misyilid, that Egyptians heard that maybe there's a baby born, Yunoika, a baby. Mamtu Yunoika Hassan. They would bring another baby. This is the way, a very interesting way that they would catch the baby. They would bring another baby to the house where the baby they suspected was hitting. They made the baby cry. And what happens when one baby cries, the other baby starts to cry too. So this was their plan. They had a very cruel plan, but a smart plan, that they're going to make the baby cry. And by the baby crying, they'll make the other baby cry. There's no way to hide the baby then. And that's what they would do. So there's no way to hide Moshe. They see, like it says in the pasuk, that they grabbed to us small foxes, meaning that they would bring to the Yidden the small foxes, small babies of their babies, and that's the way that they would catch the Yidden and do those kind of stuff. Interesting. So what they do? They couldn't hide him anymore. The pasuk continues. They brought for him a wicker basket. Maishna Guma, Why was the wicker basket made out of wicker? Right? Why specifically wicker basket? Why not like a nice hard wooden basket? You couldn't put Moshe in a more sturdy boat inside the water. Rabbi Lazar says, "Mekavan tzadikim." Very interesting pasuk. I find this interesting. It's from here we see that tzadikim that they're more worried about their money than their bodies. Now, the first thing that sounds like a negative thing you'd say about somebody. He cares more about money than he cares about himself. But he says no. Listen to the way he explains it. Why are they so careful with their money? Because they're very careful with their transaction. They don't want any chance to stick their hands into stealing. So they don't have a lot of money to their neighbor because they're very careful with their finances in that sense, because they don't want to do anything that's wrong. And they know that everything they have has to be used l'shem shemayim for heaven's sake. So a tzaddik, so someone like Moshe's family who lived on a very high level, did not have a lot of finances. They had a wicker basket, and therefore they stuck Moshe into a wicker basket. But Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani Amar says no, it was very deliberate, the wicker basket. It was a soft thing. It's good to put in soft kind of boats to put a baby in the water. Because something that's soft could stand before something soft and something hard. If it bumps, and you want to have like a little bit of a bounce, I guess a little bit of a cushioning. You don't want to put something in. You put in a hard wooden boat, it's going to bump, and who knows what's going to happen to it. So it's actually deliberate that they put them into like a wicker basket. Okay, now we're going to talk the famous pasuk. I think Rashi brings it down when Noach built the Teva. They painted it with chemer and zephes. With what are the two words? With coated it with clay and with tar, like clay and tar. Tar chemer b'fnim. We explain this meaning. They put clay inside the basket, and tar pitch on the outside. Why? So the baby inside shouldn't smell the bad smell. So pitch goes on the outside, which has a very bad smell, and the clay goes on the inside, so we shouldn't smell it. But by Noach's Teva, they put pitch on both because it was more important that it be stronger and last through the floods of the Teva. Okay. Tasam Basa Yelad, then they put the baby in there. But Tasam Asuf, they put him into the Yamsuf, into the river. So the Gemara asks, what is this Yamsuf? What does it mean they put him into the Suf, into the Yamsuf, into the Nile River, whatever the famous Yamsuf that they have in Mitzrayim? So Shmuel Nachmani explains a little bit different. What does it mean that they put him into the Yamsuf? Agam. Agam. There was a kind of an agam. Agam is like a swamp. That had in it suf. That had in it reeds. So suf is like a kind of a reed. So it was a swamp. It wasn't in the Nile River that they put Moshe inside. There was a swamp somewhere there, coming out of the Nile River there, and there were reeds going out of it. They put him into the suf, into a swamp that had reeds, and that's where she stuck Moshe. Okay, kana v'suf, like the verse says, kana v'suf kamelu, that willows, reeds, and thin willows will wither. Whatever it's talking about over there, kamelu will wither. But we see that again, the word suf is a reed. It means she put him in a regular swamp that had reeds inside the swamp. Okay. The daughter of Parai, continuing the pasuk says, went up down to bathe by the Yo'or, by the Nile. Said the name of B'Shem Ben Yochai. This teaches us that she was a tzaddikus. This Batya was a tzaddikus. Sheyarda, because it uses the term lirchotz, to wash. You should know the word lirchotz is a code word for mikvah. Sheyarda lirchotz migululi avia, that she went to clean herself off, to go to the mikvah from the idolatry, from the idol worship of her father. The Batya was already, when she found Moshe, she was already a special person, wasn't following in her father's ideology. When she was ready, she was doing tshuva. She was actually at that moment fascinating, going down to do tshuva, to go into the Nile River, and she sees Moshe over there. And so it says, where do we see that rachatz means a kind of bathing, that you're going to the mikvah to purify yourself? It says in rachatz Hashem, as tzoyas b'nai Tzion, Hashem will wash away the tzoya, the dirt of the daughters of Tzion. So over there also, the word rachatz doesn't mean just a washing, cleaning yourself. It means like purity and so on. Okay, continues the verse. And the young maidens were with her. She had all her helpers as being the daughter of Pari. And says, Ein alichazut is going. Elalashin misa means going to their death. They were walking to their death. Because where else do we see that sometimes hoylech means going to your death? The earlier page we said the word hoylech means he went in the way of his daughter's advice. Hoylech, so it seems like it notes more than just walking. It's like kinding in a destiny and a mission and going somewhere. Behold, I'm going to die. And therefore we see they went to their deaths, the maidens who were going with the daughter of Pari. Because, as we're going to see now, because they were trying to advise Batya not to save Moshe. We're going to see right now, and therefore they had to be killed. But Teva, she saw the little basket. But Suf, inside the Suf, in the Yamsuf, or in the swamp, even the Chazut, the Kabul, because they saw that she's coming back to save Moshe. Amrullah, they said to her, the maidens, give your tainu, our master. Min hagay shalaylam. It's the custom of the world that Melech Basar Adam, that a king of flesh and blood, Goizer Gzeir, makes a decree. What's normally when a king makes a decree? If the whole world, so don't do what he says, his sons and his daughters from his own house, they do it, the king's own children, they're not going to fulfill the decree that their father said. And you're going against the decree of your fathers, even if the whole Mitzrayim wasn't following it. You have to do it. But Gabriel came in, and he knocked them out struck them into the dirt, and he got rid of them. We're going to see about he left one alive because the princess's daughter, the king's daughter, needs to have at least one. And she stuck out her arm, and she took hold of the basket. And we're going to have a bunch of debates that we've been having between the two scholars here, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Lechem, exactly what happened in the story. Chadamar, one of them says, Yada, she stuck at Amasa. It's not the normal word for saying a hand. Usually say she stuck at her yad. Yad means a hand. Why is it saying Amasa? So he's saying Amasa means Yada, it means she stuck at her hand. Chadamar, and the other one says Shivchasa, doesn't mean Amasa, also could mean like a servant, I guess. So he stuck at her hand, her Amasa, she sent her servant. She didn't stick her hand, she told the live servant to go and get me the basket. Madam Yada, so what's the debate subject to based on? The person who says she stuck at her hand, Iksiv Amasa. It says the word Amasa. She stuck at her Amasa, and that means hand. Madam Shulchasa, but the person who says that she didn't stick at her hand, she sent her servant to get Moshe in the basket. The like Yada says, why wouldn't it, if it wanted to say she stuck at her hand, the Torah would have said she stuck at her yad or yada. Why didn't it say yada? It means Amasa, means her servant. Well, according to the opinion that says she sent her servant, didn't we learn how Amrit? We just learned the last few lines. Abba Gabriel, like the angel Gabriel came, and struck them into the ground. So how did she have a servant here? Gemara says the shir lechad because he left her one. It's not the way of the daughter of the king to be alone. She has to have somebody. Because she has to have somebody, therefore they left her at least one servant, and she sent that servant. Okay. And according to the opinion that says that it was her hand, why doesn't it just say the word hand? Give us a break. Why does it say Amasa if it just means hand? Just say yad. Say she stuck at her yad. Mashmalan is teaching us something else interesting. The Ishtarbuve, that her hand extended. So that's the famous story comes from that pshat, that the hand extended, because the word Amasa means like a distance, that it means that she stretched out her hand, and a miracle happened that she was able to reach further than usual. The Amar Mar, the master says, because we say elsewhere, that we find by the hand of Pari, the daughter of Pari, that Hashem made a miracle that the hand was able to reach further than it normally would have. And he says, brings another interesting story where B'shinei Rishayim, with the teeth of the wicked, that Hashem makes it sometimes stick out further than they're supposed to. What's that? So he says, it says in the pasuk, the verse, Shinei Rishayim Shivarta, the teeth of the wicked you break. So Rish Laker says, don't read it that you break the teeth of the wicked. Al Tikri Shibarta, Ela Sheribavta, that you made it stretch out further. You made their teeth stretch out further. What is that talking about? We're going to see in a second. Oh no, let me tell you what it means. Interesting story. I don't know if the Gemara or Rashi brought it. I don't know where this came from. Yeah, here's the interesting story for the Gemara Brachas. I'll just show Rashi quotes it here quickly. I'm just going to share with you. when the Jews were facing Oig, the giant Oig, right? When Moshe Rabbeinu fought with the Yidden before he passed away, there's a few wars there with Sichon Melech Heshbon, Sichon the king of Heshbon, and Og Melech Bashan. How did they kill Og? Og was around for a very long time. So Og picked up a mountain to throw it on the Yidden. It was 12 mil. 12 mil. It was a huge mountain. He wanted to wipe out the whole. He was so strong and so big. He's so powerful. He picked up a massive mountain just to wipe out all the Yidden. Hashem made a miracle that he was holding it, ants somehow, whatever, started biting it, and his hand slipped, whatever, and it fell on his head. How did it get stuck on his head? I think he's bringing it for the Gemara that his teeth, Hashem made a miracle that his teeth all of a sudden grew big and started extending, and his teeth got stuck in the mountain. And Moshe Rabbeinu at that moment jumped up with the axe, and we say that Moshe was 10 amas tall, 10 cubits high, and he jumped 10 cubits high, and he put his axe 10 cubits high, and he fell into the ankle of Og Melech Habashan. So here we see the word Ribavta, that there's other times there's this miracle, I guess, of stretching. Hashem made Bas's daughter's hand stretch further, and he also made Og's hand stretch further. Okay, let's go. 10 more minutes. God willing, we'll be on time today. We'll finish that night. Vatiftach, and he opened up the basket. Vatirei wasayel, and she saw the baby. Vat opens it. Vatera. It says the word is Vatir Ehu. Vatera, she saw it, and she saw him it like Bibayile. Should have said Vatera. What is the verse saying? Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Yosi, son of Rabbi Chanina says, Rasa Shechina Imai, she saw the divine presence with him there. Okay, so she saw also, I guess, not just where her parents noticed the uniqueness of this baby, but even Batya does. Behina, behold, Nar Baicha, the baby was crying. Karile Yeled, the Karile Nar. Sometimes it calls Moshe Yeled. Yeled is like a little kid. Karile Nar, a lad, means like he's a little bit older. So why are you calling him? Why on the one hand you're calling him a Yeled, a baby, a little kid, and the other hand, see, first it says Vatirdas Hayeled, she saw the child, then she says Vini Nar Baicha, it was a baby crying. So what is going to answer? Tana, we learned who Yeled v'koyle kenar. He was a little boy, but his voice was like older, was like an older child. David Rabbi Yehuda, his words of Rabbi Yehuda. So he says something. Amr Rabbi Nechemia questions. And wait a second, how could you say about Moshe that Moshe was a little baby, but his voice sounded older? That's actually a blemish for a child, and a Levi to be blemished is not allowed to serve in the Beis Hamikdash. Whatever, you're making Moshe a blemished person. You made Moshe into a blemished person, even though Moshe will have a list, down the road anyway. But now you're making him into a blemished person that he's born like blemished. This teaches us that his mother, what did the mother put in the basket with him? Everyone wants to know a teddy bear. What she put in? She made him a chuppah in the thing, a wedding chuppah. Amran, she said, as she sends her little baby off, who's just born, who lived with her for just 3 months. She says, Shema, maybe. Yocheved said, Loi eske l'chupasi, I won't merit to be at his chuppah. I'm sending him off. I don't know who's going to adopt him, who's going to take him. So she made a little chuppah in the, if you're wondering what's in the basket, a little chuppah was in the basket. But very interesting. And continuing, the pasuk says that the Badya had mercy on him. And she says, oh, this is a baby from the Yiddish family, from the Jewish family. Gemara says, how did she know? She saw that he had a bris milah. Well, we also learned that he was born circumcised, according to one opinion, but she saw that he had a bris milah. This. Then it says, where does that come from? This is from the Jewish child. What does it mean, this? She was prophesying, not even realize what she was saying. This one, I'm not sure what this is saying, actually. I don't know what this means. This one fell into the river, and no other baby is going to fall into the river. At that moment, when Moshe went into the river, the decree, I guess Pari stargazers saw that whoever the savior was supposed to fall into the river, he actually fell into the river. He was put into the river. In that moment, all the babies were saved. Very positive thing for the people, the Yidden, the Goyim, even the Egyptians, that Pari stopped throwing the babies into the river. So Zeh, she saw him. This boy now here, he's here, meaning he's in the river, and that's it. Behind the Amr Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Elazar says, "My diksiv." What does it mean in another pasuk when it says in Yeshaya, "V'chi yoimru aleichem"? When they will say to you, "Dirshu el ha'oivos vel yedainim," hamitzaftzefim v'hamahigim, that it's talking about people that speak to the idol worshippers, the idol of Oiv, the different kinds of idols, the Oivos and Yudainim, hamitzaftzefim v'hamahigim, which are like birds that chirp like birds, kind of like Halloween almost, that we just had over here. You know, like they talk to the afterlife and they talk to the dead. Tzoifim ve'enim yoidim atzoifim, that they speak but they don't know what they're speaking. Like kind of people who could get in touch with some kind of like black magic. Mahigim ve'enim yoidim mahigim, and they're prophesizing. They don't know what they're saying. So meaning to say that they this black magic gives you some kind of, these stargazers, they know something, that there's something, there's some truth, but they don't really know the truth, and they're getting like Moshe, something with the water, whatever, but they don't really know it's they're making a big mistake. Grow, they saw Shem Mishin Yisrael, but Ma'im Hulaika. What are the stargazers seeing? That the savior of the Jewish people will be punished by water. On the Gazru, so therefore they came with the decree that all the boys that will be born, throw them into the Nile River, because they see that the Savior will be punished by water. Because Moshe was put into the river, they said, we don't have to anymore throw babies into the river, because that's the sign. They nullified the decree. So very interesting. As soon as Moshe was put in the river, and the Pharaoh's decree of throwing babies in the river at that time. But they don't know. That what they saw, that Moshe is going to be punished by water, it's talking about a whole different water. It's talking about the water in the desert when Moshe will hit the rock and Moshe will get punished for hitting the rock. So they're mixing up things. They don't know what they're talking about. They do see something, but they don't see the truth. This is what Rabbi Chanina says. We'll finish with this idea, with this concept over here now. This is the water that they the argued water that they argued over. Hey, Masharo, it's the Gnini Pari Vito. This is the water that Pari's stargazer saw. I know the Gambri Moshe. This was Moshe says. Moshe says about the Yidden. Sheish Meis Elef Ragle, that that the Jews are like 600,000 feet, are like my 600,000 feet. Moshe is saying to the Jewish people, you all were saved. You were not, in other words, Pari was going to drown all of you that are coming out of Mitzrayim now, all the kids that were born. Why were you not? Why are you here? You're 600,000 feet that are here today. Because of me, you were saved. Because I went into the river, you were all saved at that moment that they put me into the river. Okay. Let's go on to further on this on the story. Now, Papa says, what day was it? Esrim ve'echad, that Batya found him. Esrim ve'echad b'Nisan, the 21st day of Nisan Haya. Amru Malachi Ashares l'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The angels said to Hashem, Rabbeinu Shalei, the Master of the universe, Yisha'asad Leimar Shira al Hayom b'Yom Zeh, the one who will say Shira to you on the 21st day of Nisan, on this day. Right? I guess because 14th day, 15th day is 14th day at night, 15th day when Yid left Mitzrayim, 7 days later on the 21st day of the month, they came to Yam Suf. Yilaka b'Yom Zeh should be punished on this day. I guess what he's referring to here, I didn't realize that, is I guess the water, let me just see here. So what does he say? They should be Yilaka b'Yom Zeh should be Yilka b'Yom Zeh should be punished in this day. So that's so how could you have both happen the same day? Rabbi Acha, I guess he's referring to when they hit the rock. Must be that it's the 21st day of Nisan is when that happened. How are you punishing Moshe on the same day that happened? I'm not sure about this, but whatever, we have to check it out. Rabbi Acha Bar Chanina Oimer, Rabbi Acha Bar Chanina says, no. What day was it? That I guess with the rock, it was in the 6th day of Sivan. When the angel said to Hashem, whoa, we can't have that happen. The Master of the universe. On the 6th of Sivan, you're kidding. There, one is going to receive the Torah on this day. Yilka b'yamzeh shall be punished on this day. So either way, it's either happened the 6th of Sivan that Moshe was punished, or it happened on the 21st of Sivan. And either way, if you're saying it's a 21st of Nisan, Moshe Rabbeinu is going to sing shir with all the Yidden. How could it be that he's punished on that same day? And if you want to say that it's the 6th of Nisan, then how could you say that the guy who's going to receive the Torah on this day, that's when he'll be punished? Now the Gemara is going to question this thing. Remember, we said it in the last page of Gemara that Moshe Rabbeinu was born 3 months early. So he's going to make the calculation. According to the opinion that holds that it wasn't the 6th day of Sivan. Now I'm going to correct myself. I this is what I thought before, and I read the Gemara wrong. When it said Moshe was punished, it's referring to putting him into the river. Okay, so just to correct myself, he's talking about the period when his sister put Moshe into the river, into the swamp. And he's, I guess, to have an experience where he's putting into the swamp, whatever and so on. How could that happen on the day that Moshe is singing Shira and that Moshe is so on? But now he's going to question a little bit the timing here. So he's going to, according to the opinion that holds that Moshe was put into the river in the basket on the 60th of Sivan. I get how the 3 months worked out. What's pshat? 3 months, because the Amar Mar is going to quote another famous Gemara. Yeshiva ba'adar meis. The Gemara says that Moshe Rabbeinu passed away on the 7th day of Adar. We celebrate his yahrzeit. Yeshiva ba'adar noilad, and we celebrate his birthday on the same day, on the 7th day of Adar. Because like a tzaddik, a big tzaddik who fills his days is born and passes away on the same day.
Wow.
So how do we get 3 months then? Umeshiva ba'adar. It's almost exactly 3 months from the 7th of Adar. You have Adar, 7th of Adar to Nisan, Nisan to Iyar, and Iyar to Sivan. And the Torah is going to be received on the 6th day of Sivan. So it's exactly 3 months. So now it makes perfect sense. Moshe was born that day. They hid him for 3 months. Beautiful. They put him into the river after 3 months. But according to the one who says the 21st day of the month of Nisan, that's a month before Sivan. You only have 2 months. How do you have 3 months? It's a shanim. Of course, a good answer, interesting answer. It was a leap year, so they had 2 others. So he had from Zion Adar to the next Adar, and then there. So Irubai Shal Rishon, you have Moshe was born on the 7th of the first Adar, so you have almost that whole Adar. Then you had Verubai Shal Achra, and you have till the 21st day of Sivan, which means you have most of the month of Sivan. And you have the whole second Adar, and therefore you have 3 months. And Rabbi Zayin said, well, how exactly you have a Shana Mubaris? You need a Bezdin, a Sanhedrin, and everything else in order to make 2 others. Who decided that it was 2 others, but whatever. That's what the Gemara said. Okay, continuing the story. His sister said to the daughter of Pari, Hey, right? So remember, Moshe's sister Miriam was hiding there, and she goes to Bas Pari. She says, should I go and call for you a nursing mother from the Jews? What's up? Why is he telling you want me to call you a Jewish wet nurse? Lami teaches us that they passed Moshe around to all the Egyptian women, her friends that she hung out with. And he would not nurse. Amar, because he said, a mouth, that will speak to the divine presence. You knocked over tummy, will drink from something impure. The mother might have ate who knows what, and now she's nursing the child. How could it be? This is what it says. As me, yoira deya, that teaching and knowledge, yoira deya, the me, how do we try the me to yoira deya, to who should be the one to teach knowledge, ulemiyav and shmua, who could understand a Torah topic, and ligmulei mechalav ulatike mishadayim, to the one who weaned the milk and removed it's for to nurse. So therefore, it has to be the one who we learn Torah from, the one who wouldn't nurse and drink milk from something impure. So we learn Torah from him. Okay. So the time of the daughter of Pari says, go get the Jewish sweat nurse. Go get me some to nurse. I'm Rabbi Lezer to teach us. She ran really quickly, Kalma, like a maiden, like a young, strong person. She went to run. Reb Shmuel bar Nachmani Amar. Reb Shmuel, the son of Nachmani, says ha'alma. The word ha'alma here, she'limas devareha, that she hid her words, that she didn't tell her. I guess she didn't tell her who she was. She didn't tell her that she was really a sister. Yeah, she didn't say she was bringing the baby's mother. Halima means she hid. Tell him. The time of the Baspari. And Baspari said, Hilchi Asayel Dazeh, go and take this baby. She was prophesying. She didn't realize what she was prophesying. She said, Hilchi, go take this baby. Ha Shalchi, you can read it. This is yours, actually. She didn't realize she's even saying, not just go take this, but this actually is yours. And I will pay you. So Reb Chema bar Chanina says, like dying with tzaddikim, shemach zir and lav, it doesn't. It's not enough for tzaddikim that they return their lost objects, but they even give them merit for the whole process. And that is, it's a funny thing. I was saying she didn't just get to nurse her own baby, but she actually had someone pay her to nurse her own baby. And that is the end of today's Blat Gemara, 9:05. Not bad with the timing. Any questions or comments?